Alright, hi everyone, and welcome to Scicomm Monday. We're back in the studio this week after our fun at the IAGLR 2017 conference. Just to let everyone know, I am your host, Nicole Wood. If you have any questions about the broadcast, if you're new to the broadcast, this definitely is one of those formats of where we try to encourage as much engagement as possible. So please feel free to send in all of your questions via the chat module here on Periscope. If you're watching this on replay or don't get your question in during the broadcast, definitely please feel free to send those questions to us via Twitter. You can either reach me at the Scicomm Monday handle or at my personal handle of Wildlife BioGal. Today's guest I'm really excited about. We're broadcasting from the just outside of Cincinnati in Newport, which is just right across the river there in Kentucky, and we're with Lauren Beatty, who's from the Wave Foundation at the Newport Aquarium, and she's brought her whole gang with her and a whole bunch of really fun animals there. And so if you want to get a hold of them, here are all their Twitter handles. So that way you can get a hold of them either during or after the podcast via Twitter. And with that, I'd like to welcome Lauren and the rest of the Wave Foundation crew to Scicomm Monday. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. So like Nicole said, my name is Lauren Beatty, and I'm the Conservation Education Coordinator here at Wave Foundation at Newport Aquarium. And today I brought my whole gang with me. So I have Erin, who is our Community Outreach Coordinator. I've got Caitlin Stanley, who is our AmeriCorps member. And I also have Dan Dunlap, and he is our Conservation Education Curator here with us today. So we want to talk to you guys a little bit about who we are and what we do. We brought some of our friends with us today so you guys can meet some of our ambassador animals and learn a little bit more about our education and conservation programs that we have here at Wave Foundation. So to get us started, I'm going to throw it over to Caitlin, and she's going to introduce you to African penguins.
All right, hi guys. So as she said, my name is Caitlin, and I'm an AmeriCorps member with Wave Foundation. Specifically, I'm with Public Allies, which is a part of AmeriCorps. So if you don't know what AmeriCorps is, it's like a domestic Peace Corps in a sense. So the government says that the nonprofits in the areas are doing a good job at what they do, and they want to be able to have another worker. So that's what I do. I do a lot of community outreach. So we were given a large grant, and we're able to go out into the communities where these kids would never ever see an animal like this. So Randy here is one of our ambassador animals. She's called an African penguin. So they'd be found on the coasts of South Africa. Now it's really amazing to be able to bring her because she's an endangered species. So to be able to have her at these schools where these kids have never even seen a penguin before in real life is an amazing opportunity to be able to have. And she's a really fun one we get to bring out and let the kids touch her and meet her. So it's a really awesome opportunity that we get to do. And she's one of our really cool animals that you can check out.
So,
all right, buddy.
My name. Sorry.
Was that where they asked the questions?
Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, sorry. My name's Dan. I'm the Conservation Education Curator with the Wave Foundation at the Newport Aquarium. So a lot of you probably out there don't know what the Wave Foundation is. So the Wave Foundation is the nonprofit partner of the Newport Aquarium. So we are a separate 501c3. So the Wave Foundation's mission is to excite, engage, and educate our community about the wonders of aquatic life and the importance of conservation. So that's what we're doing today. We're literally educating thousands of people watching here through your computers, TVs at home. We're educating about the wonders of aquatic life and the importance of conservation. So we focus on three core areas. We focus on education, conservation, and volunteer programs. We have a robust volunteer program, 500 active volunteers, not only helping the Newport Aquarium with their volunteers, but also the Wave Foundation as well on such things as our animal outreach program, as Caitlin was talking about before. So I'll talk a little bit about our Wave on Wheels outreach program, which we're kind of known for in the Midwest. And what you can see around us here, from Randy the African penguin to the only mobile stingray touch cart in the entire United States. So we have incredible programs where we take these exotic animals out into the community. So we focus on going to schools, libraries, senior centers, daycares. So we go to places all over Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. And a lot of the places we go to, the kids in these areas have never been even outside their county before. And so when we bring a penguin like this, or we bring a mobile stingray touch cart like this, we're not only educating the community on this incredible exotic animal, but we're also getting them to come up and touch that, and they leave with that wow factor. We're literally having these kids love the animal so then they can save the animal in the future. And that's what all of our programs end up being. We have that call to action at the very end of our programs, because it's not good enough for us to come and educate about penguins and leave and just have that be it. We want to go to places and educate, but we want to leave with that call to action. So, for instance, a call to action might be, what can you do today in Indianapolis, Indiana, that you can actually help save African penguins that live thousands of miles away? And you should see the kids, even adults, their hands are going up and they're raising their hand on action steps that they can actually take in order to save these incredible animals. So that's why that is one of our 3 core areas: education, conservation, volunteerism.
Great, and I think we had one more there. Erin, if she wants to introduce herself to everybody, might take some handing off of the camera there.
Hi guys, so I'm Erin. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator here with the Wave Foundation, and my job consists of the Living Curriculum Initiative. It's a program that we've started this year, and we partner with Cincinnati Public Schools. And so we get to take this ray cart and our shark cart, which looks very similar, and we get to go into their schools. We're going to start with their 3rd graders and teach them about scientific inquiry. So it's a 3-part program, and they're going to run all the way through the scientific method using our animals. They get to be hands-on, learning about them the first visit. They're going to learn all about them, ask all kinds of questions, and the goal is to leave there with a testable question. And so they're going to have a question that they get to answer in the next session. So we'll bring the ray cart back. They get to set up their experiment and run an experiment. It may be something like, do they prefer to be down here in these wells, like you see they're sitting right now, where they're a little bit lower down? Or do they prefer to be up on the top or the surface of the water? And right now you may see an example of what our answer might be, that they love to be down, a little bit lower in the cart so that they can hide better. And then in the 3rd visit, they're going to analyze everything that they've done, and they're going to bring it all into a presentation. And they're going to communicate that science that they've just done out to the rest of their classes. So I'm really excited to be a part of Wave Foundation and be in Cincinnati Public Schools with the Living Curriculum Initiative.
Great, thank you so much. So I guess one of my first questions that I have, while everyone else out there in Periscope land is formulating their questions, is how hands-on do you try to have all the kids be? Like, how important is that to reaching the children that you go and do outreach with?
Yeah, hands-on is an incredibly big part of our programs. It's something that we find to be very important. It's a way to really engage the students. And so we don't just come and stand up there and talk to them about these animals. They get to be hands-on. So not only will they get to touch our animals, so they'll get to reach their hand right into the salt water. For some of the students that we work with, that's a brand new experience. They've never touched salt water before. So that's even the first step for those students that are a little nervous. Then they get to touch our sharks or our stingrays or the African penguin or other reptiles that we might bring. But it's also really engaging all the way throughout the program. We usually bring things like replicas of jaws or penguin feathers or something for students to be able to touch and really interact with all throughout the program. We think that that really helps them to engage and focus on what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good idea, especially with students that might not be able to reach all those different areas. Like I was just reading up here in Michigan the other day, was a news story of how kids from Grand Rapids, from inner city Grand Rapids, had never been out to Lake Michigan, which is only, 40 miles away. So it's amazing how you really don't get that outreach that you think you're going to be able to. So having things like this really helps reach all of those kids. I guess a question I have for everyone out there, do you just work with children or do you also work with adults? Because the scientist in me is saying, that'd be really cool to come play with.
Absolutely not just students. We are in schools very often. It's one of our largest programs that we do, but we also go to libraries, community centers, senior centers, and daycares. And so in those, especially at libraries, there's a lot of parents and families and community members that come to those programs as well, and they get just as excited, sometimes if not more excited. I've been at a couple library programs where the parents in the background are jumping up just as much as the students and their kids to answer our questions. So we definitely have a lot of programs where the adults are just as engaged.
And one of the areas that we're also concentrating on is senior centers as well, because senior centers are booming right now, and the ones that we go to, it is incredible for them to have us come in with our animals, and just like a school lesson or a library lesson, they're taught a lesson, and then the seniors get to come up and actually touch these incredible animals as well. So, we always like to say our animals don't discriminate based on age, whether it's a small little 2-year-old in daycare or a 6th grader or a senior in a retirement community. Our animals are there for everybody.
Great. So for everyone out there in Periscope land, if you have any questions, definitely be sending those in. I know we've got a number of viewers out there, so any questions you have about any of the animals on display or any of the animals that they have at Newport Aquarium or the outreach work that they're doing, definitely send those in. So I have another question too. So you talked about reaching some of the areas right around you. What's the furthest away that you've actually gone to for outreach events?
That is a great question. So we have gone as far as Washington, D.C., and we're actually going to be heading out there this week as well to show off our brand new Stingray cart on the floor of Congress. So they'll be able to learn about conserving our oceans and protecting these species firsthand, which is an incredible opportunity. We'll pretty much go everywhere that we can. We like to try to get as far out and see as many people as possible. I did an outreach a few weeks back where we went to rural southern Kentucky, where the kids were just ecstatic that they got to meet some of our animals. So these kids, it's a very special opportunity. They didn't even know that some of these animals existed. Some of them didn't realize that penguins were real. It was an incredible chance for them to be able to see one in real life and learn more about it.
All right. Well, you've got a really interesting animal right there. So what can you tell us about it, Lauren?
I do. So my position here is the Conservation Education Coordinator. So my main mission right now is preparing for summer camp. Our summer camp is called Camp Wave, and it's 9 weeks long, and each week has a different theme. So we go through everything from ancient oceans and fossils right here in Cincinnati to saving animals from extinction with our Save Week through AZA. And we're trying to make sure that we have educational standards that hit all of our camps. So each week of camp is set to Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky state standards, but also next-gen science standards and ocean literacy principles as well. So it'll be a fun, hands-on summer, but also really educational at the same time. And Oreo here is one of the animals that our campers are going to have the opportunity to meet. Oreo is an Argentine black and white tegu, and she is from the rainforest of South America. So we'll be highlighting her during our Animal Ecosystems Week for camp, but also our Safe Week, because she's considered an invasive species in Florida. So we're going to talk a little bit about the problems with invasive species and all of the endangered bird and crocodile eggs that tegus are eating down in the Everglades.
Yeah, I know as an invasive species researcher, because I study the invasive mute swan up here in the Great Lakes, how important that is. And there definitely is a lot of invasive species in Florida. So how prevalent are they in Florida that they are an invasive species?
Yeah, so their numbers have skyrocketed. Just a few years ago, there were only a few hundred that were found in Miami-Dade County, Florida. And in the last year, there were several thousand that were found just in that one county. So U.S. Fish and Wildlife has actually done something pretty incredible. They've started attaching backpack cameras to some of the tegus to find out where they're going. That way they can better follow and find where they are in that habitat.
Right. Is that about the average adult size right there? Like, how big do they actually get? You know, because we hear like the stories of the snakes down in Florida, the invasive, snakes, and that they get so gigantic that they're eating deer. So how big does this guy get?
So Oreo will not get quite that big. Oreo's size, but she'll end up being about 4 feet long when full grown. So she's not quite there yet.
So is it? I could have maybe didn't catch it when you were talking about earlier, but is it release pets? Is that the main way that they're getting into the ecosystem down in Florida?
Yes, that is correct. So when they start out, when people are buying them as pets, they're much smaller, but they don't realize they don't do the proper research before they get them as pets. And then once they grow to their full-grown size, which she is still not currently there, they realize that it takes a lot more care than they're able to give, and people are just really thrown out into the wild.
Yeah, that seems to be a common issue with a number of pets out there. Is they're nice and cute when they have them. Like I saw some pictures on the Newport website of some of the crocodiles or alligators that you had. I couldn't quite tell what they were from the imagery, but it was like they're so tiny and pint-sized and look cute until all of a sudden they're 12 feet long and you can't take care of it anymore.
Yeah. Very true. So we do actually have a crocodilian program called Croc Talk, where we bring out a juvenile American alligator And they're only about 2 feet long right now, and that's a lot of people's first comment is how adorable they are and how much they want one for a pet. So a large portion of our education programs are actually telling people why they should not get them as pets and why we should protect them in their natural habitats.
Great. So what's like maybe like the most random cool fact about that species right there that like seems to get the most wow factor out of the kids when you're talking to them about it?
So I think every time that I've taken her out to meet our students, the biggest thing that they can't believe is just the way she feels and the pattern on her skin. I'm not sure if Erin can get close enough to see it, but tegus are the largest species of beaded lizard. So if you look at her scale pattern, she has tiny little beads, and they almost feel like craft beads, just those tiny little seed beads lined up in perfect rows on her body. And that's the thing that kids can't get over, because a lot of students have met snakes and lizards and things like that, but they've never met an animal that has scales quite like this one.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. And it's like, so for everyone out there, with a lizard, is it slimy, dry feeling? Like, help them like get that sensation of what it is.
Yep, she's very dry. She's not slimy at all. If you felt her back, feels a little bit like braille. That'd be a good way to describe it.
Great. So, what other like random like what's the most trouble that they cause with things? I know you said that they like to eat eggs and other things, but what are some of the other things? Or do they climb into people's homes or anything like that? Or
I haven't heard any stories into people's homes, but just the endangered bird eggs I think are the biggest concern right now. Florida is home to a lot of endangered bird species, so that's definitely a major concern.
So for everyone out there, definitely feel free to send in your questions. We'd like to make this as engaging a platform as possible. And any questions you have about all of these magnificent species here, definitely send them in. Or about the aquarium in itself. And wow, it looks like we've got another really awesome species right now to showcase. So I'm going to let Caitlin take it away.
Yeah, so this is Nagini. She's a red-tailed boa. So these guys are usually found in Central and South America. Now, Nagini is a very special animal. We do like to try to rescue animals if we're able to. So she came from a local reptile rescue. And unfortunately, it does happen like with the tegus, where people get them as pets and realize, oh, I don't really want to take care of this anymore. Let's throw it out there. It can happen around here as well. So sometimes animals will be abandoned or released. Very rarely that does happen. But she was one of those ones that was abandoned. So the aquarium was lucky enough to be able to take her in. Now, we can't do that with all animals, but we do actually have a number of aquatic animals as well in the aquarium that were rescued too. So we have a shark, a couple big arapaimas, the really large fish, and a couple turtles and stuff, and saltwater fish that we've been able to rescue. But these guys are amazing animals. I have a soft spot for snakes. But she is pretty much full grown, so they can get anywhere between about 7 to 10 feet long. Usually this is a pretty average size. And you can find them in different colors as well. I know it says red-tailed boa, but she does not really have that red tail going on. So there's different localities for these guys. Some of them, you'll find them with really bright red tails. Other ones are almost like a gray and black color as well. So she's one of the more colorful ones, but she's a wonderful animal to bring out, especially in rural Kentucky, where a lot of the kids don't really learn how to properly be around snakes, or they learn that snakes are not good. So to be able to take this amazing animal out and have kids touch it, people get over their fears. I've helped a lot of people get over their fears with snakes just this size, or even the little tiny ones. We've helped numerous people get over their fears of that, and we've helped them learn why these guys are extremely important to their environments and why they're not really something you should be afraid of. Look at that cute thing.
Yeah, it's adorable. We had a question coming in asking what species it was, and it's a red-tailed boa. So what other facts can you tell us about their native habitat, where they're at, and what it is that they like to eat down there versus are there any differences to when they're released up here?
Yeah, so these guys, they be found arboreal mostly. So they're kind of found in semi-tropical rainforests. You can find them usually up in the trees. They're extremely strong. So usually when they're in the trees down there, they're going to be sometimes eating birds, other small mammals that they can get a hold of. That's pretty much it for out in the wild. Now compared to here at the aquarium, we actually feed them for rats. So she gets large frozen thawed rats because it's dangerous to feed live. And if they were to be released, and I'm not sure if these guys are being released in Florida, not sure, but most likely they'd just be eating small mammals and different birds around there. So I would imagine if people are releasing these down in Florida, they would be causing an issue as well. But as far as I know, I don't think we're having a big problem with that, thankfully. These aren't one of the big ones that you really have to worry about down there. So we try to keep their diet pretty much the same that they would be eating in the wild. It's just rats, maybe a couple birds every once in a while, but for the most part, they're pretty calm guys.
So, like, you talked about rescuing species and different animals out there. How many animals does the aquarium normally rescue per year, or have like in their aquarium? They're actually rescue animals compared to ones that either you're breeding or you bring in from outside.
So for the rescue aspect, we have to be very, very careful with that because we don't know what those animals are coming in with, especially for an aquatic species. I know that last year we brought in Nagini here. So she came from a local rescue as well as a ball python and a bearded dragon. But as for other tanks, we're very, very careful on what we can bring in. I know around 2 years ago, we were able to bring in some fish that were from a pet supplier and able to rehabilitate them because they were very, very sick. But other than that, it's very difficult for us to bring in animals just because we don't know what they're starting out with, if they could be sick. So we try to do what we can here. I'm not the one that writes down the list of ones that are able to take in, but we try to do what we can.
Is that something where, like, if you let in a fish into one of your big tanks, you could, in theory, infect all the species that are in there and possibly have a massive die-off?
Yeah, we're very careful about that. We always quarantine animals when they come in. So when Nagini here came in, she was behind the scenes for about 2 months, and we did tests to make sure that she wasn't sick. We always do that with all of our animals. So animals are quarantined even if they come from another AZA institution for at least a month, up to 2 months, possibly longer, depending on what tests we need to do. So we're very, very careful on that. So she was behind the scenes probably for about 2 months because we have to do a lot of extra tests with reptiles, especially because she's out meeting the public. So we're very, very careful about that.
So, like, I have a question because I don't handle snakes at all. It's only been maybe 1 or 2 times ever that I've actually had the opportunity to do it. But since you're handling these species so often, do they actually recognize you? Like, I guess, like, how smart are they? Are they able to recognize their different handlers and are more, like, calm with certain people?
Snakes in general, they don't really have the capacity to understand that somebody's coming around them a lot of the times. So they don't really have many emotions except for eat, breed, get away from stuff. But the tegu that we had out earlier, they're actually very intelligent. They've been known to seek affection from people, so she does recognize us. Nagini here is like, all right, you're a warm tree, we're good. But other, like the big lizards and monitor lizards, can recognize people. So we can see that with her, but for the most part, with snakes, not too much.
Not too much. Yeah, that's interesting. I never would have thought of, like, the lizards, actually getting to recognize people. So I guess, what's your favorite thing about Nikki there? So.
Being here at Wave?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying about the snake there. As she's like constantly wrapping around you, like how, and also too, like how careful do you have to be with handling her that like she doesn't actually constrict you too much? I guess it's a 2-part question.
Yeah. Well, with Nagini, I think she's one of the most beautiful red tails I've ever seen. She's a really light coloration, and she's just amazing. She's a wonderful animal to have out. As you can tell, she's very calm. And the one thing before you're working with reptiles, you have to understand their behaviors. So with big snakes like this, she's not constricting me at all. You would know if an animal was to be constricting you, which she's never done that to anybody. But it's more of you just have to be comfortable with a big animal. Not everybody's comfortable holding an 8-foot snake. So you do have to kind of get used to it. So for the training aspect, we're very slow with it. We want to make sure that people are comfortable with that and they know the different behaviors and stressors that could come from a reptile being out. Now, we've never had an issue with her. She's always been amazing since we've had her. And as long as you're holding her very gently, kind of let her do what she wants within reason, we've never had an issue really with any of our snakes. So if we see that they might be getting a little stressed out, they immediately go back.
Are kids usually pretty receptive to the big snakes like that? Do they usually go, ooh, or are they like, you always have a few maybe like that might be afraid? Like, what's the usual overall reaction to a snake? Because I mean, I know I'd be like, yay, but I'm just curious as to what the kids' reactions are.
Usually you pull it out and they're all like, oh my gosh, what is that? And then over time they kind of slow down like, oh, okay, it's not going to do anything. This is basically all she does. She's a little curious. So usually it's a, oh my God, what is that? Because it's a big snake. She's pretty large compared to the other ones that we have. So it's a lot of excitement. They get really excited about it. Some of them will scoot away in their chairs. And then over time they'll kind of come back after we tell them, like, she's not going to do anything. They're basically harmless as long as you know what you're doing around them. And the adults' reactions are the best in my opinion. They freak out sometimes, but we get over that fear. And if the person's still afraid of it, that's okay. We just want to make sure that they can respect these animals. So that's a big thing we preach as well, especially with our shark cart and our snakes. We want to make sure people are respecting them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We had a person from National Geographic come into my hometown recently to do a video on the rattlesnakes that we have in the area here, and the community reaction was so much a fear of, oh, we have this many rattlesnakes here. What are we doing here? It's like nobody's been killed from a rattlesnake, of this particular rattlesnake in over 100 years. So respect it, but don't fear it. I think it's the same thing with snakes like this. Definitely have a healthy respect, but there's no need to, have a particular fear of it.
Yeah, that's the thing we advocate. You just need to respect it. We always teach kids why it's important to understand how these animals are important in their ecosystems. But we do that with adults too, because sometimes adults, they're so far gone with what they've been taught that for someone to come up and say, this animal's not going to hurt you, they're like, what? That's not what I've been taught. That's not what I've known for 40 plus years of my life. And for us to be able to bring this animal up and say, she's wonderful. She does an amazing job in her ecosystem when these are in the wild. And she's an amazing animal to be able to teach people about that. And I like to think that we've changed a lot of people's perceptions of snakes over time, just using even the small ones. She's our biggest one that we have, but even our small little sand boas that are a little bit over a foot long, we've really been able to change people's perceptions on snakes. And that's young and old. I mean, I helped a little girl get over her fear of snakes. I brought one of these ones out and she flew back 10 feet. And I just kind of talked to her like, all right, come over, let's talk about this. And it turned out that she didn't know why she was afraid of snakes. It happens with a lot of people. So it's a really amazing thing for us to be able to get these animals out and really teach people about them.
Great. Well, I know we're starting to run out of time here. So, is there any last minute things that you all want to cover, or just some gratuitous shots of the awesome penguin there? Because I know some penguin researchers that would kill for some more shots of the penguin.
Much more fun to look at than any of us.
Yeah.
And Randy is a fantastic ambassador for her species.
So when she's shaking her head like that, that's what we call her happy dance. She's so happy right now with all the attention we're giving her. Her head just shakes over and over like that. And that's a good sign we always look for when our penguins are out.
So,
Yes.
Lauren, I guess I'll throw it off to you. Any last minute things of, ways that people can engage with the Newport Aquarium with different things if they want to maybe have you come out and visit them, because this is some really interesting stuff. I'd love to have you guys come hang out at one of our scientific conferences. You'd have all these scientists just completely geeking out with all of this. So.
We would absolutely love to be involved with that. Wave Foundation is here to do all of our education and conservation initiatives, so we would definitely be interested in doing something like that. If you're interested in learning more about Wave Foundation, you can visit our website at wavefoundation.org. And also you can check out Newport Aquarium and their Institute classes, or the classes we do here on site. And we pretty much go anywhere we want to go. So if you are interested in having us come out to your school or your library or your community center, please give us an email, give us a shout out. We would love to bring our animals and talk to you more about them. So we are welcome to answer any questions if you guys have any questions left over from our broadcast, or we're happy to answer them later as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And I can easily say, as someone who's visited the Newport Aquarium in the past, it definitely is a worthwhile visit for anyone to go down there, catch a Reds game, or go hang out for the Bengals, and then also go check out the aquarium as well. It's a really beautiful city, that general area that you have down there in Greater Cincinnati, and the Newport Aquarium. For everyone, I know I've showed Lauren this, but I really did visit, and I really do love it. I geek out about it, so I had such a good time with it. So even though I don't use a mouse anymore, I still have that mouse pad. I can't get rid of it. So, but
I really love it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
As well, we do have a new exhibit at Newport Aquarium that just opened. It's called Stingray Hideaway. So if you haven't been in a few years, you might want to come back and check out that new gallery where you can count those rays and go underneath the water and see them swimming over you. It's pretty incredible.
Great. Well, there's another excuse for me to travel some more. So for everyone out there, I definitely want to give a big thank you to this week's guest, everyone from the Wave Foundation at the Newport Aquarium, and Lauren Beatty for helping to get this all arranged. If you want to get a hold of them, if you're watching this on replay, please feel free to tweet them at their various handles here. If you have any questions for me or for the broadcast, or if you're a scientist or Scicomm out there who wants to be on a future broadcast of Scicomm Monday, please feel free to tweet me either at Scicomm Monday or at my personal handle of Wildlife BioGal. And with that, I want to thank everyone for tuning into today's broadcast. It was a great time. It went way too fast because, hello, those animals are just amazing, and I could play with them all day, even virtually from far away here. So for everyone out there, please go out, explore, do some science, have some fun, and a reminder that next week we'll be on hiatus because of it being Memorial Day weekend here in the States, and we're going to take a week off so we can actually go out and cook some hot dogs and have some fun out in the Great Lakes. But until then, hopefully we'll see you on the next Scicomm Monday come June.
So she should be.
Hooray!
Yeah.
I got the